Welcome to our channel, where we delve into the darker side of history. Today, we're going to explore a topic that's often shrouded in secrecy and scandal. Corruption in high office is a serious crime that can have far-reaching consequences for a nation. And in this video, we'll be counting down the 8 most corrupt prime ministers in UK history. 8. Robert Walpole, often considered the first Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, is believed to have been corrupt due to several instances of embezzlement, bribery, and other forms of financial impropriety during his time in office from 1721 to 1742. Walpole was accused of embezzling large sums of money from the government's coffers. Walpole was involved in several shady land deals, where he allegedly used his position to manipulate property prices and make large profits for himself and his friends. In 1727, he was accused of accepting a bribe from the French government in exchange for supporting a trade agreement. In 1733, he was accused of manipulating the price of government bonds on the stock market to increase his own profits. 7. William Cavendish, the 4th Duke of Devonshire, served as Prime Minister of Great Britain from 1756 to 1757. During his brief tenure, he was accused of corruption and mismanagement, which led to his downfall. Cavendish was accused of embezzling large sums of money from the government's treasury, allegedly using it to fund his own personal expenses and business ventures, a total worth £1.5 million in today's money. Cavendish held significant financial interests in various companies and businesses that received government contracts or subsidies during his time in office. This created a conflict of interest, as he stood to benefit personally from government decisions. He was also accused of accepting a bribe from the French government in exchange for supporting a trade agreement. Cavendish's nephew, George Augustus Herbert, was appointed as Chancellor of the Exchequer despite having no experience in finance or government. This led to allegations of nepotism. 6. Frederick North, 2nd Earl of Guildford and 1st Lord North, served as Prime Minister of Great Britain from 1766 to 1782. Lord North was accused of mismanaging the government's finances, leading to a significant increase in national debt and inflation. He was accused of using government funds to finance his own lavish lifestyle and personal expenses. In 1767, North was accused of accepting a bribe from the East India Company in exchange for supporting a trade agreement that benefited the company. North was accused of embezzling funds from the government's treasury, allegedly using them to fund his own personal expenses and business ventures, a total of £1.2 million in today's money. North's nephew, Sir Thomas Robinson, was appointed as Secretary of State for the Northern Department despite having no experience in government. This led to allegations of nepotism. North's wife, Anne Vane, was accused of using her influence to secure government contracts and favors for her husband's business partners. 5. Spencer Perceval, the 2nd Earl of Egremont, served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1809 to 1812. In 1810, Perceval was accused of embezzling £10,000, approximately £1.2 million today, from the government's treasury. He was accused of accepting a bribe from the Bank of England in exchange for supporting a bill that benefited the bank. Perceval was accused of using his position to appoint family members and friends to important positions in government, often without merit or qualifications. This led to charges of nepotism and favoritism. Perceval's brother, John Perceval, was appointed as Paymaster General despite having no experience in finance or government. Perceval's wife, Jane Bruce, was accused of using her influence to secure government contracts and favors for her husband's business partners. 4. The Marquis of Londonderry, also known as Robert Stewart, 2nd Marquis of Londonderry, served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1812 to 1827. Londonderry was accused of accepting bribes and kickbacks from government contractors and companies, including the East India Company. Londonderry was accused of using his position to silence critics and opponents, allegedly using government resources to intimidate or blackmail those who dared to speak out against him. Londonderry's nephew, Lord George Stewart, was appointed as Secretary of State for War despite having no experience in government or military affairs. This led to allegations of nepotism. Londonderry was accused of rewarding his friends and allies with lucrative government contracts and appointments, even if they lacked qualifications or experience. 3. Robert Jenkinson, 2nd Earl of Liverpool, served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1812 to 1827. He is often criticized for his role in implementing policies that benefited the wealthy and powerful at the expense of the poor and working class. While he was not necessarily a corrupt prime minister in the classical sense, his government's actions and policies have been criticized for being unfair and beneficial to those with wealth and influence. He supported policies that maintained the power and influence of the aristocracy and gentry. Liverpool's government supported protectionist policies that kept food prices high, benefiting landowners and manufacturers at the expense of working-class consumers. Liverpool's government introduced a new income tax in 1816, which fell heavily on working-class individuals. While Liverpool's government passed some limited reforms to improve working conditions in factories, they were criticized for being inadequate and failing to address the root causes of poverty and inequality. Liverpool's government was known for its nepotism and cronyism. He appointed family members and friends to important positions in government, often without merit or qualifications. 2. David Lloyd George, the 2nd Earl Lloyd George of Dwyfor, was a Welsh politician who served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1916 to 1922. While he is remembered for his leadership during World War I and his role in shaping the Treaty of Versailles, he has been criticized for his actions and policies. Lloyd George was known to have amassed a significant amount of wealth during his time in office, which raised suspicions about his financial dealings. He was accused of accepting bribes and using his position to enrich himself and his family. Lloyd George sold peerages to raise money for parties. He was accused of accepting a £100,000 bribe from the Canadian government to support Canada's claim to the Grand Banks fishing grounds. During World War I, Lloyd George's government was criticized for allowing profiteering by individuals and companies, including those with connections to the Prime Minister himself. This led to accusations of cronyism and favoritism. Lloyd George's government's handling of the Irish Home Rule issue was seen as discriminatory and unfair by many Irish nationalists. The government's attempts to partition Ireland and exclude Sinn Féin from the government led to widespread protests and violence. He was accused of using his position to benefit his family, including his son Gwilym, who allegedly received government contracts and favors. 1. John Major, the 14th Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, was accused of being involved in several controversies and scandals during his tenure from 1990 to 1997. While he was not formally charged with corruption, some critics raised concerns about his involvement in various issues. In the early 1990s, it was revealed that several MPs, including some Conservative Party members, had accepted cash or gifts in exchange for asking questions in Parliament or supporting government policies. In September 1992, the British government was forced to withdraw the pound from the European exchange rate mechanism after a failed attempt to maintain its value. The episode became known as Black Wednesday and led to significant economic and political fallout. In 1993, it was revealed that a Conservative MP, David Trewin, had accepted a £30,000 gift from a businessman named Trevor Lawrence. The gift was allegedly intended to influence Trewin's behavior in Parliament. In 1994, it was discovered that Brian Maloney, a junior minister, had accepted a £10,000 loan from a businessman with links to the insurance industry. These are just a few examples of the most corrupt prime ministers in UK history. Corruption is a serious crime that can have far-reaching consequences for a nation. It's essential that we learn from these mistakes and work towards creating a more transparent and accountable government.